Donnie, and I'm an American sick in Germany. Hey guys, and welcome back to our channel. I am Donnie, and my wife and I are two Americans currently living in Germany and sharing all of our experiences living and traveling throughout Europe. For the past few days, I have been battling a little annoying cold that has had my nose all congested and a lingering annoying cough. But as I have been lying on our couch in self-pity and despair, I realized that this is really the first time, or maybe the second time in over the 2 years of living in Germany, that I have actually gotten sick. In my pathetic state, I started noticing little differences about getting sick in Germany versus the US and how one copes with it. From what getting medications is like to what we do for relief, how do Germans and Americans differ in how we get over our illness? Well, that is exactly what I am going to talk about today in our video. Here's the trick of being sick between the US and Germany. So 2 quick disclaimers. 1, I did take a COVID test, and no, I don't have that. It is just a simple cold. And 2, I know because the topic is differences in being sick in Germany and the US, some of you are already preparing your soapboxes for how Germany's socialist insurance policies are robbing their people, or how American blood-sucking insurance companies are slowly burying their people in graves of debt. But surprise, this video is not about that. But by all means, go ahead and leave those comments because any comment at a minimum helps with the YouTube algorithm. Again, this is my first experience getting sick in Germany, so I don't have a lot of experience in the area of healthcare, but also I have a stuffy nose and a cough. So not a sickness that has sent me to the doctor or qualifies me to give my experiences on why one system is better than the other. So if you're looking for that video, go to another channel that has that video, because today I'm going to be talking about things like how Vicks in the US is called Wix in Germany. So let's go ahead and go over that difference I just mentioned. One of the top over-the-counter medication brands in the world, Vicks, is known as Vicks in Germany as well, but spelled with a W rather than a V, and the reason why might be a little startling. So why did this American brand change the V to a W in Germany? Well, in German, the W is pronounced in a similar way to the V in English, so you would think that is the simple answer right there. Change the letters so the pronunciation is the same when read out loud by the 2 languages. However, it is a little darker and deeper than that. In German, the letter V is pronounced a little more similarly to an F in English, and well, if Germans read V-I-C-K this way with the F sound at the beginning, it sounds much too similar to the German word F, which is in fact the F word in German. So in order to avoid the confusion with the German F word, they just went ahead and changed the spelling for their German-speaking market. And speaking of Vicks, one thing that I have definitely struggled with the past few nights has been sleeping because of the congestion I've been dealing with. One of the biggest questions for foreigners living in a foreign country, especially when they are sick and want the same comforts as home, is, am I able to get the same medications I am used to here as I would get back home? And although there are some differences in medications available in the US and Germany, one thing that I can easily get in Germany like I did in the US for some nighttime relief is NyQuil. But it is instead called Medi-Night, both of which are produced by Vicks. However, buying it is totally different. In the US, I would just be able to easily hop down to our local convenience store, which would look and feel a lot like a DM to Germans, go over to the shelves, grab a bottle of NyQuil, buy it, and leave. However, in Germany, even to get what are referred to in the US as over-the-counter medications, or medications that don't require any prescriptions from a doctor, you have to go specifically to a pharmacy and speak to a pharmacist who can give this type of medicine. Aubrey and I have both had experiences buying over-the-counter meds from German pharmacies, and the first time she went to buy Medi-Night, the pharmacist took time to go over all the instructions with her and make sure it is in fact what she actually needed for her symptoms. However, the first time that I ever went and got some, the same pharmacist just handed it to me and I left without instruction. Now, I don't know what the difference was between the two of us, but I do think Aubrey's experience should be what is expected in Germany, considering the point is to talk to a pharmacist. However, my experience gave me the impression that the pharmacist looked looked at me and was like, "You're an adult, you'll be fine," just like in the US, and just sold me the Medi-Nite. So what are your experiences? Do German pharmacies typically go over all the details, or for these simple meds, just sell them to you without much conversation? Real quick guys, it is a massive support to our channel if you would take a second to hit that like and subscribe buttons. Also, if you would like to find out other ways to support our channel, we do have our Patreon link in the description, but now let's get back to the video. So another interesting difference I have noticed because of the mountains of tissues that I have been using could really also be considered a similarity, but it is the fact that both countries have one brand name that is synonymous for the word tissues that is used rather than the word tissue, but they are different brands. In the US, the tissue brand Kleenex has become synonymous for tissues, and you can simply say Kleenex to refer to the product regardless of the actual brand. In Germany, the brand Tempo is the exact same way, and in Germany, rather than asking someone for a Taschentuch, you can simply ask for a Tempo and you will get one regardless of what the actual brand is that they are handing you. Now, I have been fortunate enough that my cold has been mild and didn't come with any stomach issues, but when I first started feeling sick, one of the first things that Aubrey asked me was if I would like some chicken noodle soup. That is because in the US, the classic food for sick people looking to feel better is chicken noodle soup. However, another classic snack in the US for when you're sick is saltine crackers or toast, and then you sip on some 7-Up or Sprite. But that got me thinking, what do Germans eat when they feel sick? I Googled it and found an article on DW that talked a lot about different home remedies Germans do when they are sick, and it said twice baked bread biscuits called Zwieback or fistfuls of pretzel sticks. Germans consume them in mass after diarrhea or vomiting. They would add that it all goes down best with Coca-Cola Classic. So swap out the saltine crackers for pretzel sticks and the Sprite for a Coke, and you got the one-for-one equivalent German snack when you're feeling ill. But I would be really interested in knowing from you, it will depend on the kind of illness, of course, but when you start getting sick, what are the classic foods or meals that help you feel better? Like I've mentioned, this is maybe my first or second time getting sick in Germany, and I actually have never been to a German doctor in the 2 years that we have lived here. Aubrey, on the other hand, has for a few minor things, so I can't speak from personal experience on the next topic, but based on her experiences and just from living in Germany for the past few years and being surrounded by the culture, I have discovered a couple of other interesting differences. First, when Aubrey first went to a doctor, she came back saying the doctor was wearing a very interesting outfit, like almost as if he was going to a blacklight dance party because he was wearing all white clothes, including a white leather belt and shoes. She went to some other doctors and noticed the same thing before we finally put it together, that it isn't just an interesting style choice, but the uniform for many doctors in Germany. To further clarify, the clothes she described were not like the very obvious professional physician white clothing, but rather a white t-shirt, white jeans, white casual leather belt, and so on. It looks like what you would casually wear out every day, but just everything happens to be white. This is in contrast to what we are used to in the US, where doctors typically wear either scrubs or professional business clothes and maybe a white jacket over those clothes. We had never seen anybody wearing all white and found it very unique. Again, I can't speak from experience, so I want your help in the comments on talking about this next topic, but one thing that I was not aware of until I moved to Germany was the idea of how people are treated in Germany for illnesses. For example, one thing I see a ton of in Germany are German memes about German doctors and their obsession with curing illnesses with teas. Also, not the exact same as treatment via tea, but a Bloomberg Businessweek article from last month says roughly half of Germany's population has used homeopathic preparations, and about 70% of those say they're satisfied with the treatment. If you don't know what homeopathy is, Bloomberg explains the pseudoscience of homeopathy was invented in Germany in the 18th century by a maverick physician named Samuel Hahnemann. His theory was based on the ancient principles of like cures like, akin to the mechanism behind vaccines. The remedies Hahnemann developed meant to help the body heal on its own, originate as substances that with excess exposure, like pollen, can make a patient ill ill or kill them. So again, I don't have personal experience with a German doctor yet, so I haven't dealt with this, and I am totally on board with avoiding medicating if not truly necessary. But based on articles like this and culture in Germany, it does seem that Germans are much more prone to try and treat illnesses through means other than medications than Americans are in my personal experience. Now, this of course opens the door to all sorts of comments on how this is why the US has a medication problem, but just like the comments about the health insurance systems, go ahead. At least it is good for the algorithm. I'm just too sick to care. Those were just a few of my observations and experiences of being very mildly ill as an American in Germany. However, I know there are a lot of other differences that you may know about from your own personal experiences, so go ahead and leave those in the comments below. To see who made it this far into the video, the random question of the week is, when you're eating bread, do you butter your bread or no? Thanks so much for watching this video, guys. Please hit those like and subscribe buttons, and we will see you in our next video. Now I'm back off to bed.